All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. The world is watching and the world is judging. From the mass adoption of over 300 students in Niger State to threat of foreign intervention, is Nigeria losing the sovereignty to insecurity is the question I'm asking in pain today. And today, we are confronting the drama of adoptions and the reign of impunity. Again, I welcome you to another, I don't know if I should say interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike, because it's actually an heartbreaking one for me. But I remain your convener, your chief host, your executive producer of the show. My name remains Kikelomo Atanda-Owo Abati. I think it's important for us to hear what on this day initial segment has for us. When I come back, or when we return, I give my 2 cents on it. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. My takeaway from on this initial segment today, Tuesday, November 25th, where Nigerian civil war, captures, which captures rather, the worry challenges, which precisely in 1968 to be precise. And during this Nigerian civil war, federal troops, captured, Owerri, and a strategic city in the present-day Imo State, if you ask me, where I feel that the victory for that cut off, Biafra's access to resources, tightening the blockades and all. However, the city changed, hands multiple times, before the war's end in 1970, and the capture was part of the bloody battles that defined, the eastern threats of the war. I think that's my takeaway from on this the initial segment today. But let's get a quick message from my sponsors. When I return, we'll dive straight to the issue at hand. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. We begin today with a national emergency that has escalated from a democratic crisis to a subject of intense global scrutiny. In recent weeks, we have witnessed a shocking wave of mass adoptions, from the 38 worshippers taken in Kwara State with a ransom demand of 100 million per person to staggering kidnapping of over 303 students from St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State, a figure that now surpasses, the Chibok tragedy. And gunmen attacked the Christ Apostolic Church in Kwara State, killing 2 people and adopting the dozens of worshippers, with report of ransom demands of 100 million naira, about $69,000 per person. But beyond the headlines and the geopolitical lies, will I say, more profound question that I'm bringing to fore today: does the Nigerian state have the political will to reclaim its territory from criminals and protect every citizen as mandated by our constitution? Is the question I'm asking in pain. Or, to help us unpack this complex crisis, I believe that I need to bring in the security analyst, to help us, to actually, dissect the issue at hand and prefer solution, and their suggestion, who I believe that we should play his profile. He is a political or policy expert rather, just who will be joining me on the platform in the next few seconds. But before I bring him on the show, I think it's important for us to play his profile. Our narrator will be listening to him. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Let me use this medium to quickly usher in my guest, Dr. Pascal Ebhohimien, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping me pronounce the last name before coming live on again, it's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today. It's not a smiling day for me, really, because when I look at the situation in our country, you know, I'm asking which state is next. But quickly, let's drive straight to the issue, because I feel that President Tinubu that quickly announced the rescue of the 38 Iruku, Kwara State to be precise, you know, the church members that were adopted and about 50 of the Niger State students as well. However, looking at all that has happened, other accounts suggest that the children escaped on their own will. I stand to be corrected. These are some of the few things that I'm seeing online. And was there, you know, and people are asking again, was there a deal struck with the abductors, yeah, that's what to call them, or the gap between the official statement and the ground reports that we are seeing that deepens the distrust, you know, from the government or the governors? Did they just release the adoptees without conditions, is what Nigerians are asking now, because Nigerians are reacting to the fact that, you know, they just gave us report that they have been released. What exactly transpired is what we want to know. Has it not become a thing that we have to be going back and forth to be striking a deal with, you know, these criminals, so to speak? What's your take on this thus far?
Thank you, Mrs. Apati, right, for having me this afternoon.
Thank you.
You know, it's rather unfortunate what we are going through today in Nigeria. For me, the adoption of one or two children is a failure of protection on the part of the government, complete failure of protection. The first thing is the lives must be safe, and there must be transparent coordination of the effort to rescue these children. And of course, related to that is the issue of stability. You need to stabilize the children and their families. Now, the figures before us, various reports, but the recent reports which are read elsewhere is over 300, you know, were abducted in recent time in many parts of the north, particularly Niger State, the St. Mary Catholic Church also. And of course, the Kebbi one, about 25 school children were abducted. This is rather very unfortunate. They are targeting our children. And of course, the reason we they gave, in other words, the incentive for abducting these children is a ransom. I mean, it's becoming a lucrative business for those who are kidnappers. So they target these children who are gay children. It's rather unfortunate that we are experiencing this at a time when we are still talking about a high level of insecurity in Nigeria, at a time when the United States of America, precisely Trump, has placed Nigeria on the watch list as a particularly concerned country in terms of religious persecution. I don't want to use the word to talk about genocide, religious genocide in that part of the country. So it's rather unfortunate, but this is happening. So there are mixed reactions. And I can tell you that the reaction from even the Western countries, are even much more disturbing because they are concerned. They're talking about children.
All right. Many thanks for that insight right there. And truly, there are mixed reactions because, the presidential spokesperson, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, went on our sister, what would I say, another media platform, yesterday, if I'm correct, that says that DSS and militaries were involved in the rescue of the 38 worshippers in Kwara State, in Eruku, to be precise. And according to him, he said they made contact with the bandits to secure the release of these captives. And listen to the video. Even me, I'm trying to actually manage my own emotions right now because I feel that security agencies have system for tracking these criminals. Allowing them to monitor development in real time. That's the reason why we have all these agencies in place with all the top technology that I feel that they can use to actually pin down these criminals. But this sounds totally absurd to many Nigerians like me. Yet we can still apprehend any of these these bandits, so to speak. Now I must ask you, sir, with all that you have seen and with the body languages and the reactions that we are seeing on different, mainstream, name it, social media and the likes and all of that, is the presidency actually, I don't know the word to use right now because I'm being careful of the kind of word I should use because of the people in the corridor of power, because this adoption of over 300 students from St. Mary's in Niger State now surpasses the Chibok and Dapichi tragedies. However we want to look at it, we must keep it real on this table as much as we can. So I'm wondering, with nearly 100 children from previous mass kidnappings, like this Sharibu that is yet to be released, is still in captivity. What specific, now I'm asking you, the new strategy that you think that we need to deploy for us to be able to, on a larger scale, in terms of this adoption that has become a culture in our country, that I'm wondering, how do we move forward from these failed approaches of the past and just make insecurity become a thing of the past? What's your take on this?
First, let me say that the 2014 experience, the kidnap of the Chibok girls, had ideological undertone because it was linked to the activities of Boko Haram and ISWAP. But when you compare to what is going on now, this escalation of kidnap and of children from schools in the Niger and Kebbi and other states in the north, the incentive is basically ransom. They're looking for money from here and there, and people are out to kidnap people and demand. In fact, I was told that up to 100 million per child if they were to pay for the rescue. But you see, because a child is involved, the immediate concern is to rescue. Life is involved, is to rescue the child, and then stabilization. Now, what the government need to do, there's a need for a coordinated rescue operation, in a transparent manner, so that the National Task Force, including the police, the army, and the SSS, all, and even the local, those that are properly screened among the locals, to be able to go after these other people that have not been rescued. I think that is the first thing. Then, of course, there is the need for in the medium to long term, a need for a more reforms in the judiciary, in the security architecture, in the need to deploy modern technology, and if possible to involve some partners in diplomatic areas, so that we can actually fight this insurgency. It's embarrassing to Nigeria. For me, it's the soul of the nation is at stake. And many of us are not happy, particularly gay children. You know what that means? 13 years, 14 years, 15 years, that they can be raped. And so many of them are going through, if you like, trauma. And unless there is a follow-up, medical screening of the parents, there's follow-up to have a therapy,
you know, and we
trauma
don't
therapy.
actually really believe in things like
stigma,
that.
The stigma will be with them for the rest of their lives. Apart from dropping out from the school system, which is, for me, is not the way to go at all.
Absolutely.
So we are going to be looking at, as we go on, I guess, that we'll probably look at medium to long-term strategies. That is the area we need to spend more time, really. Because right now, our main concern is the need for rescue operation to ensure that these children are safe. Yeah,
but what's the government doing? Because on the internal contradictions and propaganda that we are seeing out there, you know, there is a stark contrast. While Bishop Anagbe, you know, and the Khan, you know, described a genocide, you know, with Sheikh Gume claims that Christians are burying, you know, empty coffins for propagandas and the likes and all of that. Sir, how do we address this dangerous polarization? And the reason why I'm looking at it from that angle is because the government, I don't know, what's the government doing? I don't want to say they are doing it. What is the government doing to hold these people accountable, to stop spreading disinformation and false division? We can see all that is going on right now. On the fundamental flaw in security polarization, President Tinubu has directed, you know, the police to be withdrawn from VIP duties. And it's a move that I know that Dr. Ruben Abati, you know, praises as at first. But he also notes that, you know, the police, you know, houseboy orientation is more profitable if we are keeping it real on this platform. How will we ensure, or how do you think that we can ensure that this critical directive is actually enforced? Because I know that this will be like the third time that it has been raised. I know that the AIG also have raised it twice. This will be the first time for the president and all of that. But how do we actually reorientate our security forces from protecting, you know, individuals to securing the entire populace as one of their priorities, instead of, you know, I don't know, what's your take on this thus far? It's tiring, really.
You know, honestly, the need to prioritize rescue operations said earlier on. The government has not done much. Rather than being reactive, as it will look in terms of the approach to this issue of kidnapping, I think the government is a bit reactive in terms of security forces. We should be much more proactive.
Exactly.
You know, we need to be able to put in place a more sustainable strategy. You know, look at the basic input to the entire process of kidnapping. What are the issues involved? If it is true that people, these kidnappers, they go to kidnap because of the incentive of ransom, the money they tend to gain from it, we need to be able to destroy that incentive. The government must destroy the incentive. And they have to freeze, you know, the ransom pipeline. Because this thing it's not done by one person alone. It's like a pipeline. Yeah. Right from those financing it, they have the money, either through the banking system or through whatever source. They have to purchase, you know, the proliferation of arms. They use guns, very sophisticated guns. People are buying this for these poor gangsters and kidnappers. So the first thing is to freeze the entire pipeline. The government need to do more. Now, in terms of the security, it's not in terms of the number of police you deploy to go there and deal with it as if, like I said, it's being reactive. You know, you require a more strategic approach, proactive approach, anticipative approach. You know, at this point in time, during Christmas period and the rest of it, the tendency is that people want to go into all the boarding schools, even before they vacate, and begin to deploy some of these their evil tactics to ensure that these people are kidnapped because of what they stand to gain. So what the government need to do is to be transparent and honest in the coordinated approach to ensure that all the schools are fortified. Fortified in the sense that I know it's not overnight you can build fences. Deploy police, deploy army, screen the local vigilante to be sure that those who are involving to work with the police are truly honest Nigerians, because some might collude with those perpetrators of this crime. So make sure that the security architecture, if for instance there are no lighting system, immediately within a week or two we provide lighting system, clear the bush like I said elsewhere, clear the bush up to 20 kilometers to make sure that the track or the pathway where these people go through to escape can easily be seen, and deploy surveillance system like the drone, so that they can monitor these people actually going.
Exactly.
That is medium to long term anyway. But for the time being, the government can actually use money, right, to provide an incentive to get the children safe. Safe first. But the plan they must put in place, medium to long term plan, must be so that all the rescue, all the strategy they need to put in place, including advances information technology, train the police, all the Navy, the Grand Army, and the rest of them, train even the local vigilante, deal with intelligent information in the most sensitive way, and they should stop, spreading rumor within the villages, And another ugly situation is that, as it is now, like I said, there's mixed reactions. They tend to confuse, kidnapping. I use the word that has a ideological undertone, which is within the ambit of Islamic expansion. They are confusing with this ransom thing where they are kidnapping children in order to make money. So we need to be able to differentiate these two narratives so that Nigeria will know exactly what we are talking about. Now, if it is just simple kidnapping, when I mean simple, because they are asking for money, of course, the immediate something is to just give those people money and free those children. But they must follow it up in identifying the perpetrator of this crime. Who are the people financing them? They must be on the run. They must have a way of tracking them immediately. I'm talking about the government, working hand in hand with the state government, set up a powerful task force, national task force to track these perpetrators of crime, not just the boys on the field, even those who are sponsoring them. I'm sure they know them.
Of course, I'm sure they know them. It's just unfortunate that we find ourselves in this entrenched attitude and this, will I say, ethnical failures and all of that. But you know what? Let's go on a quick break to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, many thanks for staying with us. In case you just joined today's show, today's conversation is about the shocking scale of the adoptions and our global fallout, and gunmen attacked, the Christ Apostolic Church in Kwara State, killing 2 people and adopting dozens of worshippers with report of ransom demands of 100 million naira, about $69,000 to be precise, per person. And Nigerians are shocked, and a wave of reactions are pouring across the nation, But now, let's turn our focus inward to the response or the perceived lack of from our own governments. Meanwhile, other stakeholders have made statements that further polarize the nation. So, is the government strategy a transformative overall, is the question they're asking, or merely putting a red lipstick on the sticky matter is also what is on the lips of many Nigerians. But the political posturing as well and the path forward is what I believe that we need to actually throw a lot of light on the segment. And I want to say many thanks to Dr. Pascal for all that you've shared thus far. Dr. Pascal is the former director of Claims Resolution Department, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. Many thanks, sir, for creating time to do this with me. But let me use this medium to quickly open the phone lines. For those who would like to be part of this conversation, remember that the phone line is showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and on Silverbird platform. Sir, with all that you have shared thus far in terms of taking decisive actions, you know, the US and UAE, you know, named terrorism sponsors over 3 years ago, and with no visible actions, you know, from Nigeria. And what concrete, if I must ask, you know, what concrete steps are being taken now to target, you know, those who are actually behind, you know, these people? I'm struggling to use certain words because it's a shame to us, because when you are and the kingpin of these adoption rings, you know, to finally, you know, shatter the impunity that they keep enjoying. I cannot believe that I saw a video online before coming into the studio where a woman that we need to go into deliberation with these criminals. You know, I was almost going to ask that is a part of them. I'm sorry, I cannot just help but, you know, just bring that to fore. What's your take thus far in how we can actually move forward with this impunity going on?
You see, as a strategist, let me tell you that a man who fails to plan has what? Who fails to plan has planned to fail.
Plan to fail.
A country that fails to plan has planned to fail. Planning is so fundamental, whatever we are doing at all. Even adopting the systems approach of the open type, we know a lot of issues are involved, and a lot of mechanisms are required to process those inputs. And then the desired outcome, we know what should be the desired outcome. Nigeria today expects that the country should be free of insecurity. They don't want to live with their eyes open all the time. They want to be able to sleep with their eyes closed. Everybody should be very comfortable in this country. But unfortunately, what we're having today, like I said earlier on, is a situation where it's rather unfortunate that the state is being involved. Why will a state go and be negotiating with people that they have already identified and confirmed to be behind this crime, you know, of kidnapping and killing, you know? So it is rather unfortunate that the state, rather than protecting the citizens of this country, even those who are involved, are not seen to be transparent and accountable to the people. It's rather unfortunate. Now, I want to believe that if really we want to solve this problem, you know, we need to set up, this federal government and the state government need to set up a national task force made up of the people, well trained and equipped, you know, not from point of reaction, from point of deployment to vulnerable areas in the country, particularly at this time of Christmas. You know, the churches, particularly in the northeast, even northwest, the middle belt, you know, talking about Benue and other areas. And I think that is the first thing we need to do. And secondly, we in the medium, now the students are going on a midterm break, or rather the Christmas break, right? They should use this period to provide the fence, you know, fortify the fence, provide the generator where they are not available, then provide lighting system, even if it requires providing solar everywhere, then provide train the security guard and deploy them to the various schools where they have boarding facilities. And of course, there's need to have a standard, you know, a kind of a minimum standard for schools operating boarding facilities. That, look, this thing must be the minimum you must have. All these fence, lighting system, a standby generator, a trained security guide equipped.
Cameras all over the place.
Camera all over the place. And certification. Those that have met this minimum standard should be certified by the police authority as well as the education authority. So that if you cannot operate boarding, they can be day students. But it's also important to know that if many of the students commute from home to school, either by walking distance or through busing system, where the distance more than 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers for primary school children and secondary school, according to UNESCO requirement. Once the distances are more than that, it means that the school must provide busing system. Now, providing busing system, you must provide outside the bus conductor armed policemen to guard these children because they can also be soft targets. These guys and schools are soft targets. Why? Because it's massive. They can get in 200, 300 in buses or in schools. They come with their vehicles. And there must be information management, careful information management. When a neighborhood sees 35, 20 buses coming to around a boarding school, they should be able to suspect something wrong must be going on and quickly alert relevant authorities, say, look, something is going to go wrong here. So careful communication management is key. We must be circumspect, we must be careful the kind of information disclosure so that it doesn't become inimical to the process of fighting crime. I'm talking about the community working in a coordinated, transparent manner with the task force. Police or soldiers, working together like a coordinated, transparent task force by the state government, federal government, and the local policing. It should be proactive. Put these things in place. It requires a lot of giving priority.
But the government
has
priority to
resources allocation.
Sir, the government has also unveiled a new national counter-terrorism strategy plan from 2025 to 2030, to be precise, emphasizing that a whole of strategy, a whole of society, approach is key. And I must ask you, with what you are sharing right now regarding your submission, what specific, measurable actions will be taken in the first 100 days to just implement the plan and make sure that it's convincing a lot of it's not skeptical public razzmatazz that will that people will just say what exactly are we doing? With all that has happened thus far, what is that different strategy that you think that will bring that change that we are looking for or that we want? Because the Senate President too, that's my first question to you, the Senate President also has called for a shift from short-term reactive approaches to long-term planning. And when you said earlier that when you fail to plan, you plan to fail, I understand the angle you're coming from, given that school kidnappings continue to happen, which has become a culture as seen in Niger, in Delta, name it, all over this, most of these northern eastern states. So what is the response in terms of the critics now with their argument that says that the government's action are not fundamental in terms of being reactive enough, and that there's a persistent failure? When I mentioned earlier that there's this ethnical failure from our country, so the persistent failure now that has now become an act on intelligence warnings that I feel that you need to address quickly. What's your take on
this country, as far as I'm concerned, must take the bull by the horn. There's no point playing grammar with it. We need to come out with a clear strategy. First, the objective must be clear. What do we want to achieve in the next few months, 1 year, 2 years? And the government must begin to look at all the various sectors, talking about the institutions. The National Assembly need to come out with a law, that will, of course, be able to deal with the offenders. Of course, laws that will make it difficult for people to be able to amass wealth in order to finance purchase of guns and to facilitate this kidnapping process. Then, of course, the judiciary, must put their house in order. This idea of some people who are caught and there's no speedy trial. Prosecution takes a long time before it will never even end. It has never ever ended, as if we are not serious with it. Then, of course, the school system, a long-term educational planning strategy will be needed. Like I said earlier on, if you are promoting body, minimum standard must be upheld, and then you ensure that before you certify any school to operate body, that they meet the minimum requirement. Of course, there's thing for educational continuity plan. You remember what happened in the Chibok case? The Chibok case 2014. That some of those students drop out from the educational system. The implications? Apart from the fact that they will not be educated, they will not be able to read and write, or even get employment. In that part of the country, you know what I mean, the social implications, the social unrest, The fallout of that is the level of unemployment will increase. The dependency body of the people who are working will go up, and there's more poverty, there's more suffering of the people. And of course, they are the likely candidates, you know, to be drafted or, how do I put it, yeah, drafted or enlisted into the terrorist group or the bandits or whatever you would like to call it. So I think it is important for the government to take it very seriously. And the more prioritized resources allocation for security, for me, it's a number one priority. You know, for any leader that is coming, the leadership must have empathy, must show empathy, must show ethical leadership. You know, the moral aspect is so key because there is a moral contrast between the government and the people. You know, while the government responsibility is to protect the life of every person, every child, you know, right? And the responsibility of the individual is to ensure they comply with the rules and the regulations that govern human conduct. Now, if the lives of an individual is not safe and the government is doing other things, for me, it's out of place. First and foremost, the lives of Nigerians must be safe and their property must be protected. Now, the government must go all out, medium to long term, to ensure that actions, strategies are preventive, they are anticipatory, they are proactive. We don't need to wait until another one happens before they begin to react to it, right? So where there are potential areas of potential conflicts, you know what I mean, between Christians and Muslims, of course, you know what that means. So they need to be able to set up what I call a conflict resolution or mediation team between the two groups of religion and begin to communicate, go into constructive engagement, and make sure that there is understanding. After all, Nigeria is a secular state. You know, why do we have to get to this level we are now, where you look at the other person, you say it should not exist, they are worshiping their God in their own church, you go and massacre, you kill them. And we cannot continue like that. Now, on the other hand, if it's a case of ransom, what the government need to do is to strengthen this money laundering law. And, you know, like I said earlier on, you know, block the pipeline, this ransom network, you know, because this type of thing is not done by one person alone, it's a network. So the government must be able to track these perpetrators of crime, track their funding, because they must have source of funding. And this is where they need partnership. If you call it strategic partnership with the Western world, like the United States and the United Nations and other African countries, working together to ensure that there are improvements in the border, you know, border control mechanisms are well developed and operated, you know. And then, of course, it's important that we must now begin to look at issue of statistics and population, because we really don't know who are the Nigerians today. You know, many people living in this country, you know, some say that these people came in during the last regime of Buhari. There are some of the people who are not Nigerians and they refuse to go back. Now, we don't really know those who are Nigerians. And now they're everywhere in our communities. So the government need to do a lot. You know, like I said, they need to strengthen all the institutions. The National Assembly has a role. Leadership has a role. This is beyond, leadership is now beyond profligacy. What I call the beauty, I mean, what they call the beauty of power, position, and prestige, which is the incentive for people to go into politics. Make political position unattractive.
Yes.
Let it be made for people who truly want to serve. People really want to serve. Many of us are ready to serve without being paid or pay little allowances.
Exactly.
You know, we should be emphasizing sacrifices, selflessness, and service. Leadership is for service, for God's sake. And that is why I took time to write this book.
I was coming there.
You know, I wrote this book.
I was coming there.
I said the leadership Nigerian desire, the leadership Nigerian desire from profligacy to servitude. If you like, from 3P to 3X. 3P means position, power, and prestige, which appears to be the culture within the political space today. We need to change their mindset. So the first thing we must do in the leadership space in this country politically, is not even politically, even in various institutions, we must begin to change our mindset to service, to selflessness and sacrifices. You know, because people, Nigerian people cannot be suffering. You ask them to tie their belt, but you are living in profligacy. You know, that cannot work. You must lead by example. Leadership by example. This is the time for ethical and transformational leadership. We cannot continue like this. There are Nigerians everywhere in diaspora within Nigeria who want to serve this country and bring about a realistic change, you know, for the benefit of our Nigerian people. We cannot continue to live in fear, and you know what that means. We have not even looked at the long-term effects of those children that are being displaced from the education system. At the end of the day, the level of unemployment, you know, of youth in those parts of the country will go up, you know, and unless Nigerian government, state, local, and state begin to look at the issue of unemployment, you know, improve on agriculture, have clear key performance indicators to measure our progress in various sectors of solid mineral, agric, and then of course information technology, which is for the place for the young ones. We need to prioritize and begin to develop our educational system to address the national needs of our people. That is the only way we can create employment. We cannot continue to depend on foreign countries to help us solve our problem. Leadership is an issue. But I think President Tinubu is trying, from the strategic point of view, looking at the long-term project, infrastructural development, and the rest of them. But you see, people need to survive first. People need to have, you know, immediate cushioning effects. Whichever way we want to do that, you know, and they've tried the clean cash transfer to this vulnerable area where people don't have jobs and where a lot of youths are unemployed, right? And then what we need to do in the medium to long term is begin to encourage empowerment program, entrepreneurial training, vocational training, identify these people who are at the moment not employed, look at their skill area, what they need. That is the kind of thing I'm doing in Edo State, in Eastern Land. I set up a youth empowerment program, you know, to help them, you know, giving them soft loan from 500,000 to 1 million naira and at 1% interest. They're able to pay. More importantly, you are transforming their mindset from consumption to production, whatever they are doing. That is the way to go. Now, when we have this type of thing multiplied all over the country, the 776 local government in Nigeria, with a lot of resources allocation, and corruption is eliminated, go into IT to remove cases, to remove a lot of the leakages in the budgetary process. Then, of course, Nigeria begin to experience light at the end of the tunnel.
All right, many thanks for all that you've shared thus far. I wish I could actually ask you this very last question regarding the U.S. that has affirmed the readiness, you know, to deepen security cooperations, including providing enhanced, you know, intelligence and defense equipment for us in Nigeria. But unfortunately, we ran out of time because there's the last segment of the show that's where I, as a host, also have a right to actually express my own opinion. But quickly, let's move to the last segment of the show. Many thanks for all that you've shared thus far. I pray that, you know, all that you have shared will actually come into light where, you know, there will be solutions to the issue at hand. But before I let you go, the last segment of the show, like I said earlier, is about what caught our attention, you know, that went viral. And the first one that caught my attention is that of the Nnamdi Kanu's sentence. And let me quickly give my submission before I come to you, because like I said earlier, this is where I have an opportunity to express my own thoughts as a host. And, you know, Nnamdi Kanu's life sentence, you know, is a warning that leadership carries responsibilities, you know, or responsibility, and when that responsibility is abused, you know, consequences, you know, must follow. I think that's what I've been able to predict from what transpired. Because, and according to the court, you know, this broadcast and others, for instance, the radio Biafra that incited violence, including attacks on security forces and citizens, was one of the reasons why what's it called? It went the way it went. And the judge also, you know, described him as pursuing his own political agenda through violence threats, you know, and terrorist acts, you know, and his offense were not just mild or symbolic, you know, because they were actions that encouraged real violence and led, you know, to the loss of innocent lives and destabilize the country, the community across, the southern east. And its broadcasts, did not just inspire hope, according to them, or progress. It was about it fueled, fear, attacks on security agents and destruction of properties. If all that we've been sharing thus far is about, insecurity and, how we can safeguard lives and properties and all of that. So it's a bit interwoven with this issue at hand. So no nation can overlook a movement that turns political grievances into a campaign of intimidation and bloodshed. So justice in this case is not only legal but moral, if I'm allowed to say that, because it speaks to the right of citizens to live without terror from those who claim to fight for them. So what makes this part even more, tragic is the fact that, how sharply the contracts with the approach of, fellow Igbo men or Igbo man, if I'm allowed to say that, because Peter Obi, shows that passion. It shows passion, for one's people, which does not require violence, or threats. So he pursues change through elections, policy, persuading people and the likes and all of that. You understand that when you gain power through legitimate means, you can lift people, reform systems, build lasting influence, have a good character, where people can actually tell us to say that, okay, you are role models and the likes and all that. So his strategy for me, just proves that the Southeast can actually push its interest without resorting to chaos, to scandal, to, threats, to, so many lessons that I feel that I can pick from Peter Obi. I'm speaking for myself, but Nnamdi Kanu had the popularity to create a powerful political party. He could have, elected governors, senators, and lawmakers, who would campaign regional development and even negotiate constitutional reforms, instead of building democratic force. He chose a path that is destructive, that doesn't have credibility, and that is going to harm a lot of people, instead of protecting the lives and properties that we are talking about. So if he's not giving that sentence like that for me to deal with the issue at hand, I'm sorry to say this, many other Nnamdi Kanu will rise and our nation will be in a total anarchy. I try to keep it real as much as I can on this platform, but that's my take on Nnamdi Kanu's sentence. What's your take quickly, sir? We are running out of time.
This country, we have well over 250 ethnic groups. Now, one part of the country or the other, historically, have felt very marginalized. And so people tend to react in different ways. Now, it is unfortunate that, if you recall, we had this Nigerian civil war. We're talking about Biafra. Ojukwu was the main man, who drove that process. And then we didn't learn from that. Now, what is important, and even the successive government of Nigeria have not actually learned from it. There is need for forgiveness. There's need to go back and look at the issues that led to it. But what is important is that people's right to self-determination, not only in Nigeria, everywhere in the world. There are instances of countries, example of countries that were together before. Today they are separated. But the approach to it, like you said, matters a lot. The approach doesn't have to be violent. Somebody who has a proposal of reform, a major reform of a country, it's either you go through the political process, like you said, form a political party, or engage the government systematically, develop proposals, well written and articulated, making your point, rationale why you think there should be better resources allocation to your part of the country. There are 6 regions in Nigeria, and there is no part of Nigeria who is on disadvantage. You will recall, for instance, the northern part of Nigeria have argued that for a very long time they have been disadvantaged educationally. Now, to those of us from the south side, we have also argued that yes, we produce the oil and gas in this country, which is the main revenue, the main source of our revenue as a nation, but that we are highly impoverished. So this kind of paradoxes, those who are rich don't get enough, those who are leading don't get to be led, and things like that, they're inevitable in a plural nation. But I think what is important, I don't have problem with plurality. I don't have problem with I don't have problem with diversity. For me, it's a strength for a country like this. where we are talking about manpower needed to develop national economy. Unfortunately, because the conditions are not right, people are leaving this country. You know, they are leaving en masse, what they call, you know, in search of greener pasture. But for those of us who are left behind, what is important is vote right. There's need to have, you know, a reform in the electoral system and get the right leaders to take a helicopter view of the challenges in this country, regardless whether you are from the southeast, from southwest or northeast, and do what people expect to be done. What every Nigerian needs is that they want to be happy. They want to see food and eat and be satisfied. They want their lives to be protected. They want their children to go to school and get the right knowledge, skills, and attitude so that they can be employed and have sufficient earnings to live their lives, right? And this is the kind of thing everybody is looking out for. So if we have a leader that is able to look at the whole country and begin to mobilize the collective strength of our people, then our Nigeria become better. So for me, for the young man, legally, this is not about emotion. Legally has gone through the judicial process. He has been found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment, right? The only solution now people are talking about, you know, amnesty and the rest of them, political solution.
All right,
this
many
money,
thanks.
whatever the method is,
many thanks.
as
many
a Nigerian,
thanks
he has a voice.
All right,
and,
many thanks.
You know,
many thanks.
but you have
many
to do
thanks.
it legally.
Yeah, many thanks for all that you have shared thus far. Of course, for lending your voice on issues that affect us all across Nigeria. But on this note, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. But again, to our resourceful guest, Dr. Pascal Ebhohimien. Did I pronounce that? Oh my God, guys, if people need to give him my flowers. You know, he's the former director at the Claims Resolution Department, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. Again, thank you so much for creating time to be here. On this note, my name remains Atanda-Owo. Till I come your way next week, or on Thursday, I'm sorry. Remember to catch me live on Inspiration FM tomorrow, your drive time talk show at 5 p.m.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.